Good evening. This is video 18. This is Working in Saudi 101 for Dummies. Tonight's topic will be leaving Saudi Arabia. This is for all expatriates, but later we'll be talking about the Free Richard H campaign. This is Mr. M. And remember, I've got in a few answers on our email, kabsa.anzi@gmail.com. The song tonight on Desert Desert Island Discs is Time to Say Goodbye. This is dedicated to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office for doing very little, not. So, time to say goodbye. Let's hope, Richard, that you don't have to go down to Riyadh. Work for food. Work for food. Because again, that's what we are. So first we'll start with leaving Saudi Arabia. Well, the most important thing is to get your final pay. That's essential. Do not leave the country without your final pay. Because then, to leave, sometimes people sign saying they've got their pay. The company says they'll pay them, but they don't. And so that's a problem. Get your exit details from your employers and make sure that you check all of your exit details. Hand in any documentation that you have to your company. That's very important to make sure that all your children, etc., if your wife is there, are ready to exit with you. And because what will happen is if you don't have an exit allowed, if you're on any gamma, then you won't be able to leave the airport. Sell everything you have and make sure to close your bank account. Because if your company, for example, sends you money for your bank account and you're out of the country for a while, they could be closed. Make sure to pay any fines that you have, because there are a couple of sites in Saudi. One is the Ministry of Information. I think there's one called Abshir. And if you have any violation or any money's owed, then you'll be stopped at the airport. Don't carry much cash going through customs. That's pretty important. And try to transfer any funds to your overseas bank account. Then make sure that you do a final check on anything. And if you need anyone to deal with any matters like extra compensation, or if you're taking a case against your company or somebody else, make sure that you have a power of attorney with someone. It'll take time. It's very detailed. I'll explain a little bit more about this in Richard's case, which I'll move on to in a minute. Now, in 2006, in the House of Commons in England, the Foreign Secretary noted, Foreign and Commonwealth Office Services aim to monitor improvement service delivery through feedback from customer surveys. I don't think Richard has got one yet. I'm sure he looks forward to that. The FCO aims to achieve a customer satisfaction rating of either good or excellent for 70% of its work. Again, we need to know what the bar on that is. Now, I would say to Richard to really ask the FCO these points. What power does the FCO have? Where did they get this power? From where does it come? And in whose interest does the FCO exercise this power? And most important, to whom is the FCO accountable? I would assume it's to their customers. Now, that with a budget of over £1 million a year, you know, the FCO is not short on cash. And the tagline for the FCO is supporting British nationals around the world. Well, you can see that they haven't supported Richard very much. Now, just in a slightly separate issue, which, okay, is topical, but let's look at it. Richard is a British citizen. But yet, in March 2020, in the British Daily Express, called Royal Outrage, Meghan Markle, lumps an extra £50,000 on the UK taxpayer as she leaves Archie in Canada. Now, nothing on that girl, but there's £50,000 spent, and nothing spent on Richard. Now, I find that really disappointing. I find that actually more than disappointing. Now, in Richard's case, here we are at the moment. He has recently had his case stopped. That means he should be free to leave the country. There's nothing on one of the sites that says there's going to be any more case taken against him. It seems something must have bounced back from Riyadh. But he has to make sure that he has a piece of paper that he can actually leave the country. Someone that Richard, when he was inside for a day, many months ago, spoke to an Indian chap who for years had a no bar on his passport so that he can go, but he doesn't have that piece of paper. So he's still stuck in Saudi a year later. Now that's very important to remember that, because Richard has, suffered a lot, and he just wants to get out of there. So he's contacting the Foreign and Commonwealth Office to help him through their office in Riyadh, to help him get that piece of paper. It's not so easy. Sometimes sites don't work. Sometimes they're in Arabic and they're not quite clear. He wants someone to be power of attorney when he leaves, but it seems since his case is no longer up there, he can't do power of attorney. So, it's just a nightmare. Just leaving the place can be a nightmare, okay? Now, I've had some questions from viewers. What would the ex-president of Ireland, Mary Robinson, help Richard? And I couldn't help but laugh. No, she's an acquaintance of the Dubai royal family, not the Ricky Tomlinson of the royal family sitcom, but she's a friend and acquaintance of the Saudi royal, or the Dubai royal family, and she was involved in front of the videos not too long ago when there was a princess brought back from the coast of India who was trying to leave Dubai, brought back forcibly. So forget Mary Robinson, she won't do anything. She's too much linked with power. What is the update on Richard's case? Well, I've given it to you that since the last video, that his case is stopped, but he still needs a piece of paper to be able to leave at the airport, and that's very essential. He's also checking on whether there's a thing called the statute of limitations with his ex-employer as to when exactly that 1 year ends. Because if the 1 year ended from a certain period, he may not be able to claim. But what that period is will have to be established in law. And somebody also asked, the last question is, what's an IGAMA? Well, as I said, for most workers, they need an IGAMA in Saudi Arabia. It's what you legally need to work there, although many people work there on 6-month come in and out visas. A lot of laborers even do that, and that's what I told you about the Bahrain business. So that's important and you've got to check if there's any fines on your IGAMA, so make sure to check with your public relations officer at the company you're in before you leave to make sure that everything's clear. Because without that, you won't be able to leave Saudi. And then you do the required. I don't know what the situation is when there's, for example, when there is a quarantine or anything like that in terms of leaving. But it's not as easy a process as it seems. You've got to get that IGAMA. And in Richard's case, he's following up all the time to see when he can get a piece of paper that he can take to the airport in Arabic that will say, you can leave, that's it, bye-bye, ma salama. And, again, chasing the British embassy is very difficult. If you have any more questions about Saudi Arabia or Richard's case, again, it's kabsa.anzi@gmail.com. And again, this is a video that's very important, this one, and we'll continue to make more videos on Saudi Arabia and on Richard until he's out of Saudi airspace. Thank you, everybody else. There's one other person contacted their MP, so let's see what happens. But there's, there'll be. It just shows you, if you're a British national, how little your embassy will help you. All right, thank you very much. And that's it for now from Mr. M. Bye-bye. Take care until our next video. Thank you.